Hi, so I've just come back from a walk and my intention was to take this video outside and I totally forgot. And that's exactly why I wanted to share with you how important it is to understand that nature really is a fix almost for everything. Nature is a food group, as I like to say. It nourishes us in ways that we know does work, but we're not always sure why. And it's a bit like Wi-Fi, right? I don't always get how it works, but I know when it does. So trust that nature really works. There's a new field of research called eco-psychology, or perhaps you've heard of forest bathing, which is a concept that came out of the East in Japan, I believe, where doctors were prescribing for people that had depression or anxiety to bathe themselves in forests close to nature by trees. And a really interesting piece of research done at Exeter University, which looked at 20,000 people and looked at how much time should we spend in nature in order to feel the benefit. So, how much time would you say we should spend in nature in order to feel the benefit? When I asked this question to at my masterclass earlier in March, the response was quite varied. Some people said an hour a day, some people said 5 hours a week. Anyway, the research showed that it's 2 hours a week, which averages about 20 minutes, maybe half an hour a day, which doesn't seem that much, right? However, when I reflected on my own routine, I know there's some days, especially when I'm really meeting deadlines and doing a lot of delivery work, where I can spend, I don't know, 10 or 12 hours behind my screen. And if it's not really good weather outside, not go outdoors for 2 days. That means that actually I need to be doing an hour on the other days. So could you spend 2 hours minimum? That was the threshold that the research showed that we needed in order to get the benefits a week for you. And the more you can do, the better. So provided you feel safe while you're out in nature, the benefits are enormous. I mean, we know that it boosts our immunity. You actually produce more of a certain type of immunity cell. It lowers anxiety. It regulates our heart coherence. It drops blood pressure. It helps us feel more calm. And what also helps me, in the masterclass, I went through the five senses. So what we can see, touch, smell, taste, feel. And I reflected on this on my walk earlier, which is probably why I was thinking of that and then forgot to do the video, which is great because that's what nature does, is it takes us away from our screens, right? So ideally, go for a long walk every week without your phone, or at least have your phone on you, but maybe put it on flight mode and don't actually use it unless you have to, say, in an emergency. And what I was thinking of, if you think about nature and the benefits and you use your sense of sight, what you can see, what we see are very calming colors. So nature is generally a lot of green and blue, maybe some beiges and very soothing colors, as opposed to this technicolor that we get when we're binge watching on like Netflix or in front of our screens. We also see fractal patterns. So nature has very beautiful designs, and the subconscious mind, at least, can register that, and that can be soothing. How's that for interesting? So the geometric patterns that nature has, we feel provides a sense of, I guess, calmness and certainty, which we don't have in our lives generally with all the uncertainty and the stress that we're exposed to. Then think of what you can touch. In nature, there's so many different textures and the temperature changes and the ground's different beneath your feet, as opposed to just being at home in front of your screen at your desk. And then the tastes, I mean, fresh air is so good for us. We also breathe more, so we use the sense of smell and we get more oxygen. And generally in nature, unless you're sitting still, which is good because that could help you get into more of a mindful meditative state. But if you're walking, it's, boosting your metabolism and using muscles and getting you to breathe deeper, which is great. That gives you a bit of that oxygen advantage, which is exactly what we're going to speak about at the masterclass on the 14th of April. So if you're interested in building more breath work and easy techniques that you can use, not just in nature, but also behind your screen and at your desk, especially while remote working, please be sure to come along and join me. I'm actually going to have a guest with me who's an advanced breath coach and expert, and we're going to talk through 5 different breathing techniques that you can use to achieve different things. But really what I wanted to encourage you, today's the 1st of April. It feels like something's lifted. I don't know, there's a spring in my step. Spring is around the corner, unless you're, of course, maybe in South Africa and in the Southern Hemisphere, but there's a seasonal change. And change brings new energy, which is amazing, right? With this long weekend that we're all potentially having access to, can you really go out and get your nature fix? Spend as much time as you can in nature. And then next week, when I do another live, I'll speak about how you can bring nature into your remote office. Because we can't always get out there. It's great if you can, but there's a lot of things that you can do to bring nature into your space. However, go into this weekend and perhaps you could use one of the techniques that I'm going to share at the April masterclass is awareness, because we can't consciously change what we're not consciously aware of in the first place. So could you be aware of how you feel going into the weekend? So today, if you're listening to this on Thursday, the 1st of April, or perhaps you're listening to it on Friday, the 2nd, notice how you feel at the start of the weekend. Maybe like me and like many of my clients, you're feeling a bit tired, maybe even frazzled or exhausted. And how are you feeling Tuesday morning or Monday evening after you've had 3 or 4 days, hopefully away from your screen, giving yourself a break, hopefully in nature, getting some fresh air and experiencing all those 5 senses and allowing nature to do its thing. And notice how you feel before you go back into the week. We have to change the way that we work. So many of my clients are exhausted. They're worried about what's coming if we keep at this pace. Because remote working means that we have very blurred lines around where work ends and work starts. And some of us might be going back into the office, and there's a lot of anxiety around finding time to commute again and keeping up the pace of work that we've now established after 12 months of working at home. So very important conversations to have about that. But for now, let's just focus on this wonderful drug that we all have at hand that is a very good drug to get addicted to, and that is getting out into nature and staying aware. So notice how you feel going into the weekend and how you feel coming out of it, assuming that you've gifted yourself the opportunity to spend time in nature. I'd love to hear how it goes for you. And be sure to come along and join us at the masterclass if you'd like to know more about the 5 steps and 5 different breathing techniques that could help you as we go back into another really busy period. Take care. Sante.